Before we start today's show, today we want to give a big shout out to Buzz TV. They had some crazy good devices coming out. Anything to take care of your streaming applications, your live streaming. They have all kinds of devices down from your sticks, your boxes, all the way from 128 gigs, 64 gigs, 32 gigs. There's so many things that you can do with your Buzz TV device. And to make sure you guys check the description below. We do have the link there with a coupon code, and go to buzztvglobal.com.
If you haven't heard of Omni Labs yet, our friends over there have been taking communication to a whole nother level. We're living in a time right now where you can't be visiting your friends and your family, checking in with your loved ones. Their telecommunications robot is allowing you to visit them with the most simplistic of ways, being able to dial right into a 4K camera that also has web conferencing abilities. So visiting loved ones as a group is possible to check in with mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, whoever it may be. So if you're looking for the best possible deals to make sure that you are taking advantage of this wonderful tool to take you into 2021 and beyond, make sure you check that description in below for Omni Labs, their telecommunication robot.
And also FCD Box. If you guys have not heard of these guys, I'm sure you guys have heard of Wolf launchers. You guys have heard of all these different launchers that you could add to your Amazon Fire devices. These guys have their own exclusive launcher that you could add to your stuff, which takes care of so many good things and just make it very, very accessible just at the touch of your hands. Make sure you guys do go to fcdbox.com or check the description below to see how you guys can get hooked up with the latest and greatest launcher.
Talking about devices and streaming and all that stuff, you also want to make sure that no matter what you do online, you stay protected. There's so many VPN services out there. We talk about all the time. Make sure that you guys try them out. You check them out, see which ones work best for you.
Absolutely. Make sure you guys do check out those VPNs. We do have a couple of them that we recommend in the description below. So make sure you guys do get those, just get protected, guys. So don't forget to check out the description below for all of these guys that we have shouted out today.
You know, no matter where you guys are listening, watching, whatever from, make sure that you guys hit that subscribe button, that like, drop us a comment, and the reviews actually help us a great deal. If you're looking to do anything for us in this year coming and beyond, the reviews help other viewers like yourself find this podcast and enjoy it as well. So thank you guys. And with all that being said, let's start the show.
Welcome back to another Beyond the Streams episode. Today we got Drew from Stream It All, and I'm going to give you a quick second. Next Level and I had a very busy and productive night. And as you can tell, if you're listening to us in the audio platforms, you probably can't tell because our voices they probably sound the same. But if you go to the video side and look at us at YouTube, we both look Chinese. What's up, Next Level? You awake?
I'm not, but I'm excited. No matter how I look, I am excited for this interview because we all come with such a diverse background as content creators. We never know what we're going to end up on YouTube with and what kind of experience we're going to bring and what kind of light we're going to shed. And Drew has a very interesting story, very interesting experiences that I think is going to be a very awesome conversation. So I'm excited no matter how I look. Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we have Andrew or Drew from he's got his own YouTube channel called Stream It All. So make sure you guys do check the description below. Make sure you guys do wherever you're at, the audio or video side of things, make sure you guys leave us a review or a comment And check out his channel. He's got a lot of good information out. Um, Drew, if you can give us a quick little intro of who you are, what do you do, how did you get to YouTube, just anything like that, so that way the audience could get a good feel of who Drew is.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, guys. My background is I'm pretty much been a long time nerd. So in the 90s, I was on IRC, FNet, NewNet, DALNet, trading MP3s back in the day. And then in the early 2000s, I started using Usenet a lot to download all those same MP3s. And I went to UT, and then after college, one of my friends was like, hey, there's a Usenet provider in town, Giganews, the biggest Usenet provider there is. So, and around 2009, I started working actually in the Usenet space. I've spent 7 years there. And while I was there, they actually launched the Viper VPN product. So I've been associated with this sort of streaming, well before it was streaming, when it was just downloading, and how to protect yourself while doing it for a long time now. And, I went down this current path because I just kept getting screwed over by companies. So my official background is online marketing, but when you find yourself making a company tens of millions of dollars and they're like, you did a great job, we're going to give you a $10,000 raise. And it's like, what? It's like, screw you guys. I'm going to go do my own thing. So that's kind of how I'm here.
Awesome. So, we know you have a good background when it comes to like VPNs. And we, like, a lot of us use VPNs. Some of us aren't believers of VPNs, and really wanted to get like some good insight so that way it could help the end users out there. Like why get a good VPN? Why use a VPN? What's the point of a VPN? Which VPNs are safe? Which ones are kind of hiding some of the truth out there? Some of people say, I know we are talking earlier, like military grade VPN, it's unhackable or untraceable, or so what would be your take on that?
Well, the VPNs I would never trust are those free ones in the Google Play Store, like Turbo VPN, which, it's out of China. And it's like, what are they doing with this information? And I know that everyone in this conversation is familiar with Illuminati, what Mobdro puts in there. It was the Hala VPN, where it's like literally they're saying up front they can use your endpoint for whatever they want. Which leaves you open to being your IP address associated with botnet attacks and all kinds of, even not that, click fraud. Just all kinds of nefarious stuff. So, I know people say it and it sounds like it's the shtick, but avoid the free VPNs. For the most part, because they're going to be making money from you some way or another. Now, there are rumors with, and I can't verify them, so I'm not going to say any names, but, some of these biggest VPN services, when you look at the amount of money they pay to acquire a customer, and, it could be astronomical compared to what they're like. We're talking about they would have to have 6 years of the customer to even meet what they're paying their affiliates. And it's just like, okay, they've got to be making money somewhere else too. I know that one was very, not very clear for most people. So I would say that the VPNs, I trust Express, I trust IPVanish, I trust Viper VPN, and I trust I know Mark uses Nord, so I think that it's fairly trustworthy. Those are PIA at the end of the day it used to be my favorite. I know that they got bought by, I believe it's Cape is the name, the same company that runs CyberGhost. So I'm trying to think of how to say this in the politically correct way. At the end of the day, I mean, they're run by Israelis, which if you've ever worked with the Israelis, they're they're very about making a lot of money. So I mean, I personally probably wouldn't use those VPNs anymore either. Not because I have anything against the Israelis. They're amazing people, but I would not trust that they wouldn't sell your information in one form or fashion.
Mhm.
Did I answer your question? I think I went a little bit off on a tangent there.
It's all right. No, it's good. I know there's people that say they talk about, oh, get a free VPN. It's if it's free, if it's for me and whatever. I always say if you're using a free VPN, you're gonna have to pay for it some way or another. And typically, when with VPNs, it's you're trying to protect your identity. So if you're in there saying, "Well, I'm going to use a free VPN," and it's the same thing as IP Vanish or some of these other ones. Even though you're not paying out of pocket, you're still paying by pretty much surrendering, that information. Um, I guess what has been your experiences then? I know with what is it, the 14 eyes, like that's one thing that so many people like want to know about. And there's some I want to say there's some misinformation out there that it could be some YouTubers, some bloggers, some other content creators that have talked about it. um but what is it within the 14 eyes? They say, well, if it's within the 14 eyes, you're safe, you're not safe, you're screwed. How does that whole thing work?
Well, I mean, I just think it's a marketing shtick because when you look at a lot of these companies that claim they're outside of the 14 eyes, really every bit of their operation is within the 14. I mean, all their executives, all the people making the decisions. And I mean, at the end of the day, if you've got servers, which all these companies, I mean, they have to have servers in the United States, in Australia, in all these 14 eyes countries to be viable. And so, I mean, at the end of the day, they have to play by those countries' rules. So, I mean, I personally just think the 14 eyes is a crock of poop. The other main issue that I have with that is I have never seen someone get in trouble using a VPN to hide their online activities when doing what I would consider relatively harmless activities like streaming. But at the end of the day, there's some bad people that should not be allowed to roam. And I think that if people were really thinking about, okay, where are they going with this 14 eyes track? And, people shouldn't necessarily be completely anonymous, especially if they're caught doing really, really bad things. So I mean that's my spin on that. Like you don't. I don't know. Maybe you can fill in more words. I'm trying to kind of walk a fine line between.
So I think there's a situation that we're all thinking about that happened a few years ago, in which a no log VPN, um, ended up helping catch somebody that was doing some really bad stuff. And I think that at the time it was like, well, you're a no log VPN. How are you helping them catch somebody if you have no logs? And I think what people really need to understand is that you have no logs until you have to have logs. And I think that's a very valid point. I mean, if the government, if the FBI, if whoever is knocking on your door with evidence saying, can you provide information on this? The Ken is like in parentheses. It's not really a Ken. It's you are going to provide this information if you like it or not. And the possibility of providing an information is obviously there. The traffic is going through their servers here regardless. And if the cause is justified, if people are getting hurt, if physically, mentally, whatever you want to call it, I think we as people have a due diligence to do something.
Oh, I completely agree. And I mean, when you look at these incidents, so I mean, the first one from years and years and years ago that was like this was Lolzak with hide my ass,
I remember that.
and yeah, yeah. And I mean, these idiots were supposedly like the best hackers in the world, but they're going back to the same IRC channel over and over again, using only the VPN as the layer of protection. And it's like, you really think that that is going to protect you when you're pissing off, you're on the news every day?
Mhm.
Like, I'm sorry, the $3 a month VPN is not going to do that. um, anyway, and yeah, I mean, I completely agree. Next level that if you're in a situation, any of these VPN companies, I mean, you've got to think these are executives making several $100,000 a year. If the FBI knocks on their door and says you've got a child predator using your service, you can either help work with us or
You're working
um,
against us.
or 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 we're going to make life really, really hard on you.
Mhm.
What do you think that any of these companies are going to say? Um, and I think that that's honestly the way that it should be, because some people should not be allowed um, to be free.
Mhm. Yeah, I will, I'll touch on this on, because I know I've been with IP Vanish now for a couple years, and there's a lot of people that were with IP Vanish that are no longer with IP Vanish for one big incident that happened, maybe I think it was like 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So some of the stuff that we're talking about, and some people will probably know exactly what we're talking about, and some people might not have a clue. So there was an incident, and it was on the news, it was on like Torrent Freak, there was articles everywhere on IP Vanish turning in some logs for to the FBI, because of some guy that was trying to do something with, I guess, child porn. And I don't even know if I should even say that in the YouTube realm. So yeah, they're doing stuff that they shouldn't do with minors, and stuff that you shouldn't do, period, um at all. And so some of the things at Next Level was just saying, like, yeah, if they're coming at your door saying like, hey, we're gonna need this information, at that point, it becomes of, like, for me, it's like morals. It's like, okay, we understand when it comes to VPNs that you don't want certain things tracked, you don't want certain things out there, or you want to be protected. But there's also a fine line where it's just like, okay, are you going to defend somebody that was doing like stuff, like just some nasty stuff out there? Like, there's some like hideous, nasty stuff out there. I actually had a argument with another person, and um, they were literally saying, I cannot believe you're promoting IP Vanish. And I'm just like, I cannot believe you're defending a child, whatever you want to call him, a pedophile. I can't believe you're defending a pedophile. And they're just like, yeah, but no, I'm not defending the pedophile. It's just not right. Like, if they're gonna do this with the VPN, they should protect me no matter what. It almost makes me want to question if they're protecting what I'm doing. And then I'm just like, wait a minute, what are you doing? Hold on a second. Do we need to talk about this? And that he ended that conversation pretty quick. He just stopped replying, and then I just went in and just deleted that whole thread. I'm just like, I don't need this on my channel. I don't need to have this conversation with anybody. Like no. So for me, I get very like passionate about certain things like that. It's just like, I know IP Vanish now is a zero logs, no tracking. Like, they're doing the unmetered, unlimited connections. So they've taken their business model and they've really expanded it to be more of like industry standards. Because a lot of VPNs right now are saying like, hey, unlimited connections, or no logs, zero tracking. Um, I I would hope, at least, if something like this were to come about again, that these VPNs would step in and say, yeah, you know what? Let's flip the switch. If you guys think there's something wrong with this guy, let's flip the switch and see what it is that they're doing. And if there is something that we find that shouldn't belong here, for one, I don't think any right company would want their business. I don't think anybody would want their business to begin with. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those things. It's just like, do you really want to argue about this? you know?
Yeah, I mean, and my other thought is, even if they're outside of the 14 eyes, and even if they're legitimately like headquartered in Hong Kong or whatever, it's like if they piss off the United States government so much, I mean, they're not going to be allowed to have servers here. And then at the end of the day, they're not going to have a viable VPN service.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, I mean, I completely agree that, I mean, there are lines, but that said, I mean, as somebody who has worked in this space for over a decade now, I've never seen anyone get into any issues streaming content while properly streaming, what we would all consider morally acceptable content
Exactly.
while using a VPN service. And just to add some clarity, I mean, with the IP Vanish situation, I think with that, at least the story that I had heard was that it actually went beyond him just trying to watch certain content. He was legitimately trying to buy a child. I mean, which is just insanity to the nth degree. And I think that anybody watching this would hopefully say, yeah, I'm not in favor of it. No, I don't think those people should be protected.
No, for sure.
Hold on. So I wanted to bring it a little bit more basic. So Drew, you have a channel called Stream It All.
Yeah.
What's your views? Does everybody everywhere in the world need a VPN? What are the benefits when it comes to streaming with a VPN? Is there certain countries that should use a VPN more than others when it comes to streaming? What's your kind of views on that?
If you're in Russia and if you can access the content, or if you're in Colombia or most of the South American, no, you don't need the VPN because those countries, they've got real issues. I mean, they don't care about torrenting. They don't care about, my opinion is that if you can access the content that you want, now the VPN could help you because the United States does seem to be where most of the content's at. So you might want a VPN in those countries for the geographic unlocking capabilities, but I don't think you need a VPN in those countries for the hiding your online activities, because I don't think those countries and their systems care. So I would say the countries where you really want to be using a VPN are the United States, are Canada, are Western Europe. I mean, Australia, kind of those. I mean, what would you refer to those countries as?
The 14 eyes.
Yeah. Actually, that did cross my mind.
Like, hey, can we actually name the 14 eyes?
Oh God, I didn't.
I almost want to YouTube, Google it real quick.
I didn't know there was going to be a geography test in this one.
Okay. So let's see. Let me see if I can find it real quick, and then I'll throw it up here. So, 14 eyes. There's something called the Five Eye Alliance, which is Five Eye Alliance arose out of the Cold War era. United States and the UK. Okay, here we go. So we have the United States, the UK, Canada, looks like Australia, Sweden, France, Germany, Belgium, Italy, Spain. And there's a couple more, but I don't know those flags, so I'm sorry.
So, okay, so I have another image here. So I got, and you know what? Maybe I could blow this up. Yeah, so, okay. Let me share my screen here. So This is so they have it separated by 5 eyes, 9 eyes, 14 eyes. So your 5 eyes, the 5 countries are USA, UK, Canada, Australia, New Zealand. And then when it gets into the 9 eyes, they add Denmark, France, Holland, and Norway. And then when you get to the 14 eyes, it's everybody else before that, plus Germany, Belgium, Italy, Sweden, and Spain. And then there's possible third party contributors, which is Israel, Japan, Singapore, and South Korea. Um, I don't really know what the difference between the 5, 9, 14 are. I kind of say they're all doing the same crap. But yeah, that's the list. So those are the countries that you absolutely need a VPN, right?
Yeah, well, and I mean, it seems like for the most part, I mean, there was an era where it seemed like the content producers were actually trying to go after the consumer that was watching the content. It seems like they've realized that's bad PR. I mean, for the most part now, it seems like they try to get you nasty grams from your ISP, and they're continuing to put pressure on them to just shut off the customers. I know in France at one point, they had rolled out a law called Hadopi. Have you guys ever heard of that one?
No.
It was going to be a 3 strikes and you're out of the internet forever. But the public rebelled against that one so harshly that went away. But I mean, I would say that, you know, some of those Western European countries, they're even a lot more aggressive than the United States and Canada. But in Canada, you guys have Bell and Rogers and that horrible, you know, quasi monopoly or duopoly or whatever you want to call it up there. I mean, those companies are something else.
Yeah, we don't really have a choice in which side of the devil that we can choose. Even the third party companies outside of them are using their lines. Like there's nobody really that has their own lines, and if they do, they're not really on the radar. Like they're not accessible to a large audience base at all. So
yeah.
I'm just pulling it up just because people are going to say, what the hell does the even 14 eyes means? So it says the actual name of this group, SSEUR, and its purpose is coordinating the exchange of military signals intelligence amongst its members. That's what the definition on this thing is. And I went to look, and I'm not bashing anybody. I'm going to say this right now, not bashing any VPN out there whatsoever. But I went to search just for the hell of it. What are some of the best VPNs outside of the 14 eyes? And what's crazy is the very first thing that pops up is Nord. But Nord uses servers in the States, from my understanding. So how does that work?
Mark, you like Nord?
How does that work, Mark?
I'm not a big Nord fan because they pay the most ridiculous amounts to affiliates. And I just question, how does this math add up? But that's just speculation. I do not know anything. It seems like outside of that one incident Nord had where they got hacked recently, I have never heard anything verifiable. It's just like, oh my God, these people have some really deep banker cheese pockets for sure.
Well, you know what? There was a lot of talk. I guess we can talk about that, but there was a lot of talk about when they got hacked and how they handled it, because they kind of just did a hush hush kind of under the table, whatever you want to call it, after they got hacked. But they did, I guess, learn from that mistake and shortly after put out a couple bounties. So basically they offered reimbursements or payments for people that could find vulnerabilities in their system. So there are things that they are doing. They've changed the sign-on process for their VPN. So it's no longer really verifiable in their app that you have to kind of go to a third-party website to kind of verify after you log in. So they are doing things to make themselves more encrypted, to make sure that they're not going to get hacked in the future. You know, I think my point of view, if you're in the 14 eyes, you're not in the 14 eyes, you're going to have servers in these countries no matter what. And those servers are subject to the laws that they're located in, no matter what. If you're Nord, if you're IPVanish, if you're ExpressVPN, PIA, Tunnel Bear, whatever you want to call yourself, it doesn't
I don't.
matter. I do think, though, I strongly do think that if you are in one of the 14 eyes, irregardless, you should own a VPN. If you are doing anything that you're scared that they're going to pass on your information, then you have to reevaluate your life.
Well said. I mean, one of the funny things about Nord, and like I said, I mean, everything that I've actually seen with my own eyes says that they're a good VPN. And it seemed like that hack was relatively harmless at the end of the day. And I can understand sort of the situation they found themselves in. It's like, oh, we can say something about it, and then that just becomes more press, or we can just not say anything and it will go away. I mean, that's a tough situation to be in as a company. But the funny thing to me about Nord is, I mean, they claim Panama as their like headquartered country, and it's like, why do people think Panama, this tiny little country that uses the U.S. dollar, like that is known for the Panama Papers and protecting corporations above all else? Like, why is that somehow safer than being based in a country that has at least a legal system and rules of law? I mean, that's my thought on it.
You know, it's the end of the day. The internet is the Wild Wild West. People are looking for a false sense of security or a sense of security, in regardless of what they're doing. But we always have to have a certain confidence in regards to how much we trust something. We all do our own research. We all do whatever we need to. At the end of the day, if you don't feel safe with what you're doing, what you're entrusting yourself with, then that's up to you to do your research and either find something that you feel safer with or find something that works better for you. That's just it. I mean, yeah.
I do want to take a step back to a point you had made earlier about who should be using a VPN. Because my parents, they came to me, you know, they're in their 70s and they're like, AARP said we should be using a VPN. And I'm like, no, you guys are fine. You don't need a VPN. And so I see a lot of people in my parent situation using a VPN, and it's just like, I don't understand. Like, why? I mean, you never even leave your house, so you're not even getting the advantages of the Wi-Fi hotspot. So it's those kind of boggle my mind. And I mean, it just shows how successful these companies have been at marketing. So I just thought that was an interesting example.
Yeah, I want to show something real quick, and because I know our viewers are going to ask, how can we find some of this information? So, like, you know, Google is just such a good one. You know, just Google, and I will show this. And it's funny because, again, be careful when you do read up on some of this stuff, because people will say, hey, you know what, even though it's in the 14 eyes or 5 eyes or 9 eyes or cross-eyed, whatever you want to call it, just again, it's take it with a grain of salt. But here's a detailed one, and it kind of gives you like a green, which is good, and a red, which is bad. And so red means like 5 eyes, yellow there's like 9 eye, 14 eye. So they kind of did a what country jurisdiction they are in and what eyeball they're in. No, obviously they're going to give them a green because that means, hey, they're free, they're home free. So like here, there's this one's called Black VPN from Hong Kong. I don't know if I would trust anything that is coming from China or Hong Kong, but they're listing it as green, as you're good. Would I trust them with my info? Hell no. So this is what I'm saying. When you find charts like this, just be very careful, very, very, very careful when you do start doing some of the research. But you'll find, you know, here's like Ace VPN, you know, here, well, where's the other one? Express VPN's in there. British Virgin Islands, which is owned
But
by
at the end of the day, they're actually run out of Hong Kong too.
Yeah.
So
Look, C notes is what they put. Yeah, I wouldn't trust anything from Malaysia. look, here's another one. .vpn from Hong Kong. Like, there's no way some of these that I'm like, oh yeah, cool. This is exactly, these are good. Hide my ass. There's the UK, but Five Eyes. So they're saying this is bad. So, when you guys do some of this research, like for me, the one thing I'm looking for is I don't really care about the color. I wish they would just take the color out, but I know what they're trying to do, scare tactics to say, hey, stay away from this. But, what I would do, I would be like, you know what? I don't want to see any of the greens for one, because like just looking at where the greens are at already, I'm like, wait a minute. I don't know if I would trust these countries with my info to begin with. um, but just look at some of these charts. Don't let the red scare you. Don't let the yellow scare you. Um, I would look for the greens to say why are they not and where they're at. So just and I'll what I'll even do is I'll leave it in the description below. If anybody wants to take a look at it. Yeah. I use Vanish, and they're saying it's red. It's bad because they're part of the original the Five Eyes. So I've never had an issue with them. I use it for streaming. I'm good. I'm good with it. I'm not doing anything that I'm not supposed to do it within anyway. So, you know,
Yeah, I mean, I would think most people watching this, all that really matters is they want a no-log VPN with a good app on the Fire Stick. I mean, part of the reason, even though I worked at Viper VPN, that I would never recommend their service is because their Fire Stick app is just awful. I mean, I've had it take like over a minute to connect. So, I mean, I would think most people just doing relatively above board stuff. Good Fire Stick app, good speeds. And the thing about speeds is nobody can tell you that this is going to be the fastest VPN, because it's always just going to depend on where you are, which servers you're trying to use for that particular VPN. So anybody that tells you this VPN is the fastest is full of it in some sense. I mean, it might be the fastest for them, but it might not be for you.
Yeah, for sure. And there is settings. A lot of people, they just want to, we talked to a couple people before, and sometimes I kind of wish they're like, hey, if I log in, and a lot of people experience this issue. They log into their VPN and they're like, dude, my VPN dropped speeds. Like, I'm losing so much speed when I log into VPN. It's just like, well, what are you doing with your server? Are you choosing the best servers? When you're looking at your ping, are you choosing a specific ping or latency? There's like certain settings within the settings, like the proxy, like which ports are you using? Like, there's so many little tiny nuances. So it's unique to each individual, and it depends on their ISP. It depends on their modem, their router, their streaming device. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, and I mean, frequently, and this is counterintuitive. I mean, the best way to increase your speed is to drop the encryption level if you have that option. So reduce it from the 256 to the 128. I mean, then you'll still be fine for the most part. I had a non-VPN related question for you guys, but kind of along the same sort of security front. I know that before we started recording, Next Level had talked about free flicks and what's going on. We had hit on Mobdro a little bit. You guys have been in this space making these videos longer than I have. Which apps would you put in your like do not use this app list?
That is a very good question.
Mobdro for sure.
Yeah.
I wouldn't use Mobdro. I wouldn't use LiveNet. I wouldn't use anything with the free live TV stuff. Next Level. I know you got a list.
Man, I have so much to say on this that it could be its own topic altogether. Here's the thing, and I'm being completely blunt and real when I say this. Majority and a lot of the most popular apps out there have had situations in the community where they've threatened to log, they've threatened to take people's informations, irregardless of what took the developer to that point. A lot of the times they were upset because people were modifying their apps. But irregardless, I don't care what takes you to that point. They were threatening logging information and handing it over to whoever they have to hand it over to. Now, how legitimate that is, because they're running a third-party app that's allowing them to stream, copyright content. I don't know how legitimate that is, that they're going to take somebody else's information and be like, hey, they're streaming this stuff through an app that I created. Can you do something about it? Like, it doesn't make any sense, but it just goes to show you at the end of the day. I mean, I can name some apps, but I don't want to throw people under the bus. There's like TV Zion back in the day, right? It was not always the number one app before it got shut down. And it did make some really interesting comments on Reddit. And they had some really interesting people running their PR on Facebook that even threatened to try to take my YouTube channel down in the beginning. So for the longest time, I didn't mess with TV Zion. But they changed their whole tone around closer to the end. And I guess because money became more popular for them, because they came out with their club and all that other stuff, that obviously they became a lot nicer. But I mean, there's other applications like, man, what's the name of them now? Exusia, the developer of Exusia, has made threats to people using modified versions of his app. His apps are good, but when he made those threats, I seen that he put coding into his app to show people's IP address. However, he coded it wrong. He coded it to show their local IP address and not their global IP address. So it was just the 192.168. whatever and whatever. But you don't know what the application is pulling in the background. It could just be showing you one thing and pulling another. Like, sometimes these Android permissions are so broad that you don't even know what you're agreeing to when you accept the terms and conditions or the permissions when you install them. I'll share one more story, and then I'll kind of just close off on my thoughts on that, because I could go on a tangent on this too. But another developer who took over a lot of other applications, there was, what did he have? He had Phoenix, Morphix. There was his name was Bubba or whatever, but he used to take over a lot of these applications, and he used to fork them and put his own code in there. And it became common knowledge in the community that he was trying to put Illuminati coding in there. And he would, obviously run this off a personal server, so there was no scraping. And then he would put in the Illuminati coding without telling anybody. So it's like, who can you really trust, and what are they doing with your information? The Illuminati coding is like the worst. And we talked about it a little bit earlier, but you don't know who, what, when, or how is doing what with your information. And when one of my videos, actually, what got me into the streaming community was Showbox. And one of my favorite videos that I ever recorded to date was a conspiracy theory video that I did on Showbox. It didn't get very many views, but I absolutely loved making it. Showbox got served, right? And I think it was in November that Showbox got served. And they published the article on Torrent Freak around like the 24th. But between the 1st of November and the 24th of November, there was a big jump in version numbers. And the coding, because I used to take a look a lot at the code under the applications and kind of just see what was going on. I would tinker a little bit as well. But once it was like a day or two before the publication came out, the coding was completely different. And, you can take my word for it or not. But after that publication came out on Torrent Freak, there was no more modified versions of Showbox. Zero. And I've talked to a lot of my people about that, and there were certain reasons why there was no longer a modified version. So when I made that video, I talked about how I didn't believe that application after November 1st it wasn't in Showbox's hands anymore. Somebody else was developing it. Somebody else was pushing out those updates. And even though the article on Torrent Freak was pushed out on the 24th, I'm just using rough dates. I don't know exactly, because this was years ago, but I believe that it actually changed hands on the 1st. And they took the 1st to whatever date to make sure that their coding was right and that certain things were in there to get certain information. And I kind of, at the time, they were just starting to talk about net neutrality. And that's actually something I wanted to ask you about. What's your opinions on net neutrality? What is net neutrality?
Well, I mean, anybody in my eyes who is against net neutrality probably doesn't understand net neutrality. I mean, because being against net neutrality is just like, yes, I want the big telecoms to win everything. I mean, net neutrality is basically saying that the people the back ends who control the internet can't, tinker with it so that some content is faster than other content. So Netflix, they account, at least in the States and in Canada, for just a huge percentage of the traffic. And I mean, they've actually started paying kickbacks to the ISPs because they account for so much bandwidth. But obviously, I'm a big fan of net neutrality. I think that who was the top guy that was really trying to attack it recently in the United States? Anyway, I think that they're pulling the wool over people's eyes when they try to take down net neutrality, because net neutrality is important to level the playing field. And unless you just want the big companies to always win. And I mean, what scares me about the direction that the web is going in general is that I feel like it's starting to look more and more like the world around me, where there's a Walgreens on every corner, where there's a CVS on every corner. Like I think that this might be sort of the last 20 years where the little mom and pop, I'm going to start my WordPress blog and I'm going to hit it big. I think that in 20 years time, it's going to have to look a lot more like the companies that we see in the world around us, where you're going to need real capital, like real investment to get this stuff going. Because
we lost audio.
We lost your audio.
Testing.
There you go. You're back.
Okay. Cool.
All right. So continue.
Someone was trying to silence him about net neutrality. That was amazing. The man was coming after him.
Like, no, my ass, net neutrality.
I'll stop there. You guys don't want me to go on tangents.
I was like, no, you were getting pretty good into what you were saying. I'm like, but what's he saying?
Oh man, that was crazy.
I mean, I don't want to see the corporations always win. And at the end of the day, I view taking away net neutrality as another way that we just weight the tables more and more on the side of the big corporations. Net neutrality is important to allow the small guy to have a chance.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess on that being said, I guess you are a fan of kind of diversifying your online presence, right? What do you feel in regards to, or how do you feel in regards to bigger organizations and companies like Google coming out with their own VPNs right now? A company that is so famous for collecting all of your data now wants to offer you a VPN bundled into their one service at $10 a month. What's your opinions? Should you, I mean, I'm not going to ask you to downplay or talk bad about Google because they're probably listening to you right now.
Yeah.
But my question more so is, how do you feel about putting all of your eggs in one basket or trying to diversify your online presence and security?
I would not use the Google VPN. I mean, I think that most of us have long ago sold our souls to Google. I mean, as somebody who comes from an online marketing background, it's just like, I'm going to go over most people's heads, but like branded PPC, which is like Google charging people literally, to get to the front door in terms of the internet. It's just, Google has too much control, and they've already proven that they're not using it for good. They're using it to make as much money from you as they absolutely can.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I would not. I mean, you turn on your VPN when you're trying to hide your online activities. So don't give Google any more information. I mean, that's my 2 cents on that. I mean, I think very few people would disagree with that. I mean, didn't Google try to launch a free VPN a few years ago and then it just quietly went away?
I think they did. Yeah. Now that I think about that, wait a minute.
Free. So I was going to mention this earlier, but we kind of jumped to another topic. I'm kind of getting known for an analogy that I have about free VPNs, and I'd like to share this with you because I think that you would enjoy it.
Okay.
So I usually say that using a free VPN is like sharing a divorce lawyer with your ex-wife. It might work, but can you trust it? So
I love that. That's great.
I thought you would enjoy that. I mean, it's free for you to use. Take it, do with it what you will. But I love when people come to me as a content creator in the streaming community when they say, should I use a VPN? Should I do a free VPN? When I first started, I did a few videos on free VPNs. And I learned a lot really quickly because when you're a content creator and you're talking about free VPNs, you want to have some credibility. So the first thing that you do is you dive into those terms of services, and it's a scary world down there. So yeah, it might work, but can you trust it? Don't do it. Just don't.
Yeah, I mean, along the same, there's that Opera VPN that like they bake into the browser, and it's just like, I can remember when that came out, everyone was terrified. Oh my God, it's going to consume all the entire VPN market, and then it doesn't do anything at all. I also just want to stay in my own defense because I'm pretty sure I have made a fool of myself several times in this podcast that I didn't know that we were going to be recording until like right before we were recording. Like one of my buddies was just like, hey, let me introduce you to Rohas. And I was like, oh, that's super cool. I really like his channel. It's just like, hey, we're on air.
Yeah, I was looking at the email because we did talk to him, and he's just like, dude, it'd be cool. It would be cool, if you guys can put him on the show. But we did throw you in the ringer. We did throw you in the ringer. There's a lot of people that always ask about VPNs, and to get a good insight, we're gonna need another episode. Like we're gonna need another episode to talk to you about your YouTube channel, about what you do with Stream It All, like all of that.
It is pretty interesting because I've watched your videos, and you've mentioned both Rojas and myself in your videos. You've talked about our filing stores. I'm pretty sure.
I know I talk about your. Actually, I probably have mentioned both of you because there used to be. And I admit it, in certain respects, I'm chasing traffic just like anybody else. And so, I watch, well, I'm not going to say names, but, I watch some channels post over and over again filing codes. And it's mind boggling to me. It's like these get 99% positive feedback and they post the same codes every month. And then they get 200,000 views on these videos. So it's like, okay. I mean, I don't agree with it necessarily, but I'll do it too. So I mean, in my defense, there are some videos that I do post that it's like, in a dream world where I was just focused on making the best and highest quality content, I probably wouldn't post those videos, but they get so many views that it's impossible not to. That said, I mean, I try to go out of my way to tell people the truth as I see it. I get a lot of those haters, and I was watching your interview with Adam Newtek the other day, and I know that he has even more of these haters that are like, you're just trying to sell VPN services. And it's like, everything I tell you is true. It's like, this is what I do. I actually use this when I stream this content. I think it's important that if you're in the 14 eyes that you use this service. So, I mean, that one pisses me off. And I like to believe, if you go back to my videos from a year ago, The production quality has hopefully increased. I've also started going to the gym, so I like to believe I'm more handsome. Do you guys have any other feedback for me?
Oh, that's a good question.
Oh man. So okay, so for I guess on my part, and a lot of people know the story of mine where I went from I grew my entire YouTube channel to surpassed 100,000 subs just on the Kodi app. And slowly but surely YouTube started to strike down those videos. So I started to delete some, and I'm just like, okay, let's see. I actually had 2 strikes at 2 different occasions.
Wow.
And that's close. That's like, heck no. The first time when I got the 2 strikes, they took them both down. And I was like, okay, let me just leave these videos, you know? So then a few months after that, I got 2 more strikes on 2 other ones, and they didn't take them down. They're like, nope, we're not taking these down. And after they expired, I was walking on eggshells big time. After those 2 expired, then they said, okay, we're going to take these down. And I'm just like, I needed these down like months ago. So I said, you know what? I'm like, let me just start deleting some videos. And I started to delete some stuff. And I said, let me get into like streaming APKs. So I got into APKs, and I started getting some strikes again. And I'm like, what in the world is going on? And then I got another strike on an old Kodi video. So I literally went back and I said, you know what? Like I have to remove, like I think I was like I was over 100,000 already. And I said, as I was like, screw it. I gotta delete all my Kodi videos. And me and Next Level had this conversation. He didn't know what was one of my highest viewing videos. And he was like, oh, he's like, dude, that hurts me. I had 3.4 million views on one video. And it started off really good in the beginning. I had about 10,000 views. I was like, cool. And then within a couple months, I was at a couple 100,000 views. I was like, dude. And then towards the middle of the year, I hit my million. I was like, why is this thing still going? I was like, seriously? And when I got that strike on it and I was looking at it, I wasn't even paying attention to that video anymore. 3.4 million. And I was like, oh man, I'm literally in tears right now. Like, just a little piece of me just died, and I literally had to just wipe everything. I even did videos on explaining the history of Kodi, like completely legal. This is how Kodi started. This is what Microsoft did with it in the Xbox, like all legal stuff. Public knowledge. It's not like it's secret. And I deleted everything. I said, I'm just going to delete absolutely everything from Kodi. It's gone. And then even the streaming apps, I narrowed it down to 1 video a month, my best streaming apps of the month. And I do pretty much legit apps, and I'll slide in a third-party app in there too. But I started to get, and this happened about a year and a couple months ago. I started getting some product, and a lot of product. And I was like, I'm like, maybe I should just start broadening my channel up, because I would do some random product placements. Let me do this video here. Let me do this video here. And the views, of course, were just nowhere near. Like, a bad video for me doing Kodi and streaming was 10,000 views. That was a bad video. An okay video, me not trying, was 100,000 views. And if I put some really deep thought into it, I would be anywhere from 800, 900,000 views and up. So now it's kind of like, cool, 500 views, 1,000 views if I'm lucky. And literally, it's because a lot of my subscribers subscribed for the Kodi, and then they followed me with the streaming. And now here's a massager. Here is a headset. Here's a gaming keyboard. Here's more stuff. And we recently had a members show, members only show for the YouTube, and people were saying like, hey, are you moving like towards like Linus? Like Linus does a lot of like tech stuff. And he's probably one of the biggest tech YouTubers out there that does this. And I'm kind of like, yeah, you know what? It's heading in that direction. If you look at my channel, I have a lot of products that I do. And it's weird. I'm sitting at 129,000 subs right now. I'm still waiting because a lot of people told me you're going to slowly start coming down. You're going to lose thousands of subscribers. I haven't had that experience yet. I'm almost holding my breath. I'm like, it's going to happen. And I have a feeling it's going to happen like within the next couple months, So I'm doing this weird little transition with 129,000 people there. The majority are not watching it because one, they think Rohas is no longer on YouTube. I actually had several people say like, "Oh, Rohas, I haven't seen you in a long time." And I'm like, I post a video every other day. Like, what are you talking about? But that's part of my pivot. I'm like, well, maybe if I put my face in the image, they'll be like, oh, hey, it's Rohas. I don't care what it is. Let me just watch it. So I'm almost re-educating people on what I'm doing. And I'm also gaining new subscribers, new followers. I've been able to meet new YouTubers that are either good with like headphones, with headsets, like just so much. Like it's become so broad now that I'm like, cool. I have to almost look at my channel and say, I'm starting over. I just have a grip ton of people there, but I'm starting over. I have to look at the views like I'm starting over, from scratch.
And is that because you don't want to do the eggshell dance anymore, or that you just okay?
Yeah, I don't want to do that dance no more. I've seen people losing their channels too.
Yeah, well, and I mean, it seems like most of those popular British guys have kind of gone that route. Like like most of what Doc Squiffy and Free Tech do, from what I can see, is pretty legit. I mean, occasionally they'll throw in one that it's like, whoa, I didn't know you still did third-party apps.
If I was to give you any kind of advice, it would be almost the same thing I would say to any content creator that's in this niche. You have to be careful, because if they don't strike you today, it doesn't mean that they're not going to strike you tomorrow. I've had videos that have gotten strikes literally 3 years after I've made the videos, and I showed nothing in them. No channels, no actual video on the screen, not even how to install them. And I've gotten strikes for that. So I would say, you're an online marketing person. You understand online marketing. You have to use this tool as an online marketing tool. You will get the views for streaming, but you eventually are going to have to figure out what is your backup plan, right? If you can no longer do this anymore, what would you want to do on YouTube? And I would say always have that in the back of your mind, because this is going to bring you traffic, but you have to figure out how to use that traffic to create longevity as a content creator. A lot of us have started off in the streaming community and moved to other places, like TT Tutorials, for instance, or ASBYT. There's a lot of content creators that started in streaming and built a community, and really, built that community up and then took it somewhere. So I would say, one, be mindful of how long you might keep certain videos on the platform. Two, start playing with another niche, right? And the last thing that I would probably say is, if and when you change your niche or your content, you will see a dramatic hit in your views, right? You will. And I've been having this conversation with Rohas lately, and I said, listen, the reason why we see such a dramatic hit in our views when we do something that's not streaming, one, the streaming world moves at a mile a minute. If you don't post that thing today, tomorrow it's irrelevant. And the community knows this. Oh, here's a video on this. I have to watch it now. Versus I post a video on a microphone, right? This microphone that I get from a company may not come out for another month or two. So I post a video today and nobody's searching that algorithm for it. So it's not going to have that initial push, right? That video might not actually become popular for a year down the road. But with streaming, it's reversed. A year down the road, that application doesn't matter. It may not even exist. So just keep those things in mind when you're creating content, when you're looking at the future, longevity, all that kind of stuff. For myself, I've kind of pulled back a bit and I'm really starting to look at what do I do? Because even recently, we talked about a video that I just put out about free flicks, right? I love making videos like that. Those are like my favorite videos to put out, talking about applications, super easy for me. Gets me the most views compared to my other videos. But the longevity of that category is not always going to be around. So I have to change my mentality. I have to broaden myself as a content creator. I've just recently built a new studio for me to work out of. So I have to think differently how I want to create content in the future. And I've kind of taken my sweet time about planning this all out of my head, what it's going to look like in video, but it's going to have to happen either way. So
I mean, I think that's great advice from, and I don't view the streaming stuff as kind of an end all and be all. I think that one of the advantages that I have over a lot of the other YouTubers is because of the online marketing background. You know, at the same time that I'm building the YouTube channel, I've been able to grow a website to, you know, several 100,000 views a month. And our goal is to get it to 2 million by the end of next year. And I think we can. And so I'm training. I get people in my real life come up to me all the time and they're like, well, you know, do you think you're going to be able to do that forever? And it's like, no, but I think that what I've learned about you need a $300 shotgun mic and these lights and how to edit and speak, I mean, and how to get views and how to set up your tags and your cards. Those are valuable skills that honestly, and this will sound really nerdy. My goal at the end of the day is to be doing more like personal finance videos because I'm always amazed at how bad people are. You know, it's like, God, a FICO score just seems so easy. Like, why can these people not understand it? So, I mean, I think that hopefully one day I'll be in that realm. And I mean, something I think that would surprise people about me is, so I've had the same personal assistant in the Philippines for the last 8 years. And so what I'm using to actually build this website is we have now counting him like 11 full-time employees in the Philippines. So I'm viewing that because at the end of the day, I don't want my mug on TV. I'm a super nerdy, shy guy. These videos are cool. But I just want to build up a big enough sort of company where it's like I can actually make products and improve the society and the world that I see around me. And I know that sounds like really idealistic and crazy and pie in the sky. But I'm focused on that, and I just view this as one of those steps along the way, if that makes sense.
For sure. It's like this platform right here, Beyond the Streams. We are tech enthusiasts. We are nerds. We love talking to people that have stories, that have similar interests, that have experiences. And if we never started this platform, we would have never been given an opportunity to talk to a lot of the people that you've seen on the channel. And those are some things that, you know, as a beginning content creator, you look at these people and you're like, I'm never going to make a video with this person. But I've done a video with TDUK, with Husham, with Dimitriology. There's some people that were from the beginning of this all that now I'm associated with, or now Rohas is associated with. And those are things that if we didn't build something, we couldn't say that we did it. We had those opportunities, and you have to create those opportunities for yourself for sure. So
you know, the sky's the limit, and I really do believe in exactly what you're saying. It's not about what you're doing, it's about how you get there. It's taking everything that you have from your past, applying it to your future, and just pushing forward, and just keep rolling with it. You have to.
Hashem's a fun. I mean, I love his channel, and he seems like such a funny guy. But it's like you talk about diversity. He's like, no, I will continue to show them IPTV every day, all day. It's like, he's like, they can take my channel down 100 times. It's coming back the same.
I know, it's crazy. So this is towards the end of the show. We've already been in here for a while, and I hope people have learned a lot of stuff. There's a lot of good information out there. You know, all you got to do is just look around, guys. So what we always do towards the end is we always ask our guest if there's anything that you would like to say. If there's, you know, if you want to shout your YouTube channel out, where they can find you, anything like that, feel free and take the platform.
Sure. You guys can find me on Stream It All. I did notice the other day that there's two Stream It Alls. There's one where it's just one word. I'm the one with the spaces. And then you can check out my website at reviewvpn.com. And I genuinely would love any feedback from your audience about the direction that they'd recommend going, especially with the website. I mean, as I produce more and more content, I'm curious what would actually help the community, because the way that I view it is our job is to put in the research so that the people watching it or reading the articles don't have to. And so any feedback in terms of what would help people the most in terms of research would be helpful.
You know, it's been a fantastic conversation. I'm actually looking forward to another one with you. I would like to dive a lot more into, you know, the actual YouTube space, a little bit more about the online marketing. I think that there's so much more that we can have a conversation about. So I really do hope that you do have another moment with us on Beyond the Streams here, and we dive back into those conversations. There's just so much more. Once a month, we do also have an episode called What the Hell or What the Heck, and we kind of just vent about certain topics. And I feel like there's certain topics that you are passionate about that it might be interesting to have you as a special guest on one of our episodes. I'm just throwing it out there. So if you ever have a topic that you feel a little fired up about, shoot us an email, hit us on Twitter, whatever you want to do, and we'll bring you on, and we'll just, the three of us will hash it out. We'll have the conversation, and I think it would be a fantastic episode. So with that being said, you know, I really wanted to thank you on behalf of Beyond the Streams, Rohas, myself. It's been an awesome experience, and I do wish you all the best with everything that you're doing, from your website to YouTube and everything in between and beyond. So thank you.
Cool. It was great to meet y'all. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And with all that being said, one last thing. Anybody who's out there listening, make sure you guys do check again the description below. We're going to have all his links and everything all in there. Leave us a comment and all that good stuff, so that way we could see what you guys think. And yeah, thank you one more time for coming, Drew. And with all that being said, you guys take care of each other.
Stay humble and be patient, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.